Recently, I went to visit my family in Wisconsin for the holidays. We all gathered at my grandparents' home to celebrate Christmas and the New Year. It was an old place with vintage wallpaper much like houses built in the 1970s. The home just exudes nostalgia everywhere you go. At nighttime, when all the lights are off, it can be pretty scary. I've heard my aunts and uncles talk about their ghostly experiences when they lived there. Stories of footsteps when no one is home, flickering lights, and seeing apparitions in the hallways. I've always chalked it up to them trying to scare us when we were kids and have never personally experienced any paranormal activity there. As the day came to an end, everyone started to find places to sleep. Most of the kids would sleep in the living room sprawled out onto couches and the floor, while the adults slept in the bedrooms. Although we were a big Hmong family, I loved that my grandparents' home always had space for all of us. Not everyone was asleep though. Some of us were still awake, just drinking in the kitchen and talking about life when we suddenly got to the topic of ghosts. That's when my cousin Tong told a story of his new haunted apartment. He and his girlfriend, Amy, had just moved into a nice one-bedroom apartment on the upper floors. Everything seemed normal at first. They were excited to have a place of their own and to be able to live together. However, things would not be as great as it seemed. My cousin explained that occasionally, in the middle of the night, they would hear footsteps pacing back and forth in the hallway. Other instances involved them seeing dark, shadowy figures at the corner of their eyes and experiencing occasional sleep paralysis. There was an incident that involved phantom knocks at their apartment door. One night, while he was out at a friend's place, Amy was getting ready for bed. She was washing her face in the sink when she heard knocking at the door. Thinking it was Tong, she ventured out into the living room, wondering why he didn't just let himself in. So she looked through the peephole. The lights of the hallway were on, and not a single soul was to be seen in sight. Thinking it must have been a neighbor, Amy turned around to finish her skincare routine. Just as she was about to reach their bedroom, she heard another set of knocks at the door again. That's when she started to speculate that this was not a natural occurrence. To confirm her suspicions, she looked through the peephole once again, only to be greeted with an empty hallway. Amy quickly splashed water on her face and locked herself inside their bedroom. She texted Tom about what happened, and this worried him greatly. Anxiety was building up inside of him, and he decided to cut his night out short. Unfortunately, these knocks then escalated to jiggling door handles and doors closing all on their own. These occurrences caused the couple to be afraid in their own home. Worst of all, Tom went through one of the most horrifying experiences in his life. He recounted this event taking place on a Saturday night. The couple had just gotten into bed and had fallen asleep. In the middle of the night, Tom woke up to what sounded like light tapping on their door. Still groggy and tired, he tried to ignore the sound and go back to sleep hoping it would go away. Just as he was about to drift off again, he suddenly heard a crash outside in their living room. Tom carefully turned on his nightstand lamp and crept into the hallway. The moon was bright that night, and he could see the layout of their apartment. He slowly peeked into the living room and was shocked at what he saw. Above a wooden stool, a man was hanging by a noose. The man's legs were violently kicking as he held onto the rope. His face turned into a blue hue, and Tong saw his struggle come to a stop. The man's tongue stuck up from his mouth and his eyes rolled back into their sockets. Tong stood there, horrified, paralyzed with fear. He could not divert his gaze from this frightful scene. As his eyes were getting adjusted to the dark, he saw the face of the man stare back at him. The man's lips formed a sinister smile, and his eyes opened wider as he started to laugh loudly. Tong woke up from this nightmare but found that his body was paralyzed. Standing next to his side of the bed was a large black shadow. He understood that this entity was the reason for his nightmare and paralysis. Struggling against whatever evil magic the entity used, Tong felt his entire body forcibly shake as he urged to move. The entity stood there as if it was enjoying his torment, laughing at his attempt to break free. With his remaining strength, Tong shattered the spell and reached out to turn on the lamp, only to see nothing. Amy woke up and asked him what happened. Tong reassured her and said that it was nothing. She should go back to bed. He then felt a bead of sweat trickle down his face. His whole body ached and he felt extremely fatigued. The lamp was left on the rest of the night as he tried to fall back asleep. Tong woke up to the smell of a morning meal. The sun's rays were already seeping through the window curtains. He got out of bed, still exhausted from yesterday's nightmare. After washing up, he headed into the kitchen using a towel to dry his hair. Amy greeted him, gesturing for him to sit down. Breakfast was almost ready. Although drained from the experience, he was happy that Amy was not the one to go through it. She gave him a plate and set the table with food, a simple continental breakfast. At the kitchen table, they talked about what their plans were for the day and how their sleep was. Amy questioned Tong about why he woke up in the middle of the night. She included that they needed to wash their sheets. It reeked of sweat. Tong nervously laughed and told Amy that it was nothing. He blamed it on the melatonin he took before he went to bed, but that it didn't help him with staying asleep. She looked at him suspiciously but decided to not push the topic any further. After a moment of silence, the pair went back to eating their meal. Just as Tong sipped on his coffee, Amy shared some thoughts that would send chills down his spine.
You know, earlier, when I came out to the living room, I saw that one of our stools was knocked over,
she said while poking at her food.
I thought it was a little strange, so I just put it back to where it belongs. Which one was it?
Tong asked, spreading jam onto his toast.
That one.
Amy pointed to the corner of the room. Despite the warm coffee, Tong's blood ran cold. It was the same stool he saw in the nightmare. Above the stool, he imagined the man's lifeless corpse swaying back and forth on the noose. Tong heard his name being called and broke out of his gaze. A ringing sound faded as he snapped back to reality. It was Amy calling his name. With a concerned look, she asked him what was wrong. Barely able to maintain his composure, Tong told her that it was nothing. The entire day, he was scrambling to find an answer that could solve their supernatural problems. They had nowhere else to go, and moving out was not an option. Why did their apartment have to be haunted out of the dozens of others? Tong pulled out his phone and scoured online, looking through websites and forums. It was here that he met other people encountering similar issues around the world. Some solved their problems by burning sage or incense in their own homes. Others relied on their faith and practices to resolve these supernatural occurrences. However, Tong was skeptical that these methods actually worked. He read accounts of paranormal activity getting even worse after the cleansings. Families who moved away thinking they'd finally be safe were only met with worse happenings in their new homes. Tong wanted to solve the problem by himself and disliked having to rely on others, but with all the conflicting reports, he was unsure of what to do. Just as all hope was lost, he remembered an old friend of his from high school. Tong exited Safari and started up Messenger. Scrolling past dozens of messages, he found a blank profile picture with his friend's name. Upon opening the message, it revealed their old chat logs from years ago. Swiping up, uncovered an old time capsule of texts from their days as youths. Following many years of no contact, Tong was uncertain about how his friend may feel. He didn't want his friend to feel uncomfortable, but their situation at home was getting worse by the day. Taking a leap of faith, Tong sent a message asking how his old friend was doing. He exited the app and scrolled through Facebook as he nervously waited. A few minutes later, he received a notification from his friend. It was a message replying to his inquiry. It was here that their conversation took off. The two men reminisced about their old days and caught up with each other. Despite their reunion, Tong hesitated to ask his friend for help. He didn't want his friend to feel like he was using him, but was desperate to get any help that he could. As the conversation was coming to an end, he mustered up the courage and set his pride aside to ask his friend for a favor. The friend happily obliged, stating that he shouldn't be shy about anything. They were like brothers. Tong felt some hope for the first time and explained everything. Paragraphs of text were sent to his friend as he poured out the major incidents that they have experienced. Most importantly, he included the nightmare he had yesterday and how their stool was knocked over the following morning. The friend read the delivered messages but did not reply. Tong sat in anxiety, waiting in the chat room to see if a message would appear. Just as he was about to give up, the typing bubble suddenly popped up and the friend began to talk. The friend apologized as he was still reading the text and trying to make sense of what happened. They reassured Tong that they would look into it and let him know within the next couple of days. Tong expressed genuine gratitude and breathed his first sigh of relief in a long time. Tong remembered when he met his friend Gu. They were both freshmen in high school and joined their school soccer team as forwards. It was through their shared interest and love for the sport that the two quickly became close friends. Due to their talent, they were scouted by a professional Hmong team after they graduated. The pair then competed in Hmong tournaments and events across Wisconsin and Minnesota. In 2018, their team took first place at a soccer tournament. That summer, the group rented out a cabin in northern Wisconsin to commemorate their victory. It was a 2,000 square feet log cabin surrounded by tall white pine trees. The home had a large driveway and a detached double garage. Behind the cabin rested a large body of water in which the group planned to kayak and swim in. Tong and Gu were packed like sardines when they arrived at the place. The pair carpooled with some teammates, and the group managed to fit 6 people in a 5-seater Honda sedan. They plopped out of the car and felt an immediate sense of relief. As they were sorting their belongings in the trunk, Tong noticed Gu staring up at the cabin. Seeing this, he also looked up and saw how grand the place looked. They were happy to secure such a nice place for a good price. Here, they could be as rowdy as they want without bothering any neighbors.
Nice place, huh?
Tong said as he reached down for his bag.
Yeah, it's a pretty big place. Could you grab my backpack there for me?
Gu replied, pointing at his luggage. Tong handed him the backpack and the group headed towards the house. They went to the garage and spotted the safe where the key was stored. Entering the code the host gave them, they opened the safe and grabbed the key.
Hurry up, man. I really need to go bad.
One of the teammates said.
Chill, bro. Just don't pee yourself.
Another teammate replied. The group inserted the key into the lock and opened the large door. They were greeted with a large living room and a set of stairs to the right leading up to a balcony. It looked like a typical log cabin adorned with vintage landscape art and taxidermied animals. Large glass windows let natural light come in. One of the friends rushed upstairs to find the bathroom, brushing past Gu.
Well, since we're here first, why don't you guys go find the room that you want to sleep in?
The eldest teammate said.
The others will arrive soon, so first come, first serve.
With this, the boys scattered to get first dibs on their rooms. 2 other boys already secured the master bedroom with an ensuite bathroom. Tong made his way to the end of the second floor hallway and opened up one of the bedrooms.
This looks like a good place to sleep in. They even have bunk beds for us.
Gu glanced up and down at the room and walked up to the window. He could see out into the driveway where they parked.
I don't know. I'm not really feeling this room. Let's sleep in the other one. The bunk beds here don't seem too comfortable.
Gu replied as he turned away from the window, noticing the large closet door.
Okay.
Tong answered, not really questioning his friend's decision. The two picked the adjacent bedroom with the bathroom in front of it. They set their bags down and picked their bunk beds, plugging their phone chargers into a nearby outlet. Excited about the place, Tong beckoned for his friend to explore the cabin with him. Hesitant, Gu agreed and the two made their way back downstairs. The cabin had a master bedroom, 2 bedrooms, and a bathroom, all on the second floor. In the basement, there was another living room decorated with a couch and a flat-screen TV. One corner of the room had an air hockey table and a foosball table. Connected to the living room was a hallway that led to another bedroom with bunk beds, a bathroom, and a locked storage room.
This place is pretty big. I can't believe they even have this many rooms. Look, there's even a foosball table.
Tong announced. Gu stayed quiet and just followed Tong wherever he went. He noticed that the closed bathroom had its lights on. A pair of feet were shuffling around inside. The two finished exploring the basement and decided to pass time by playing with the foosball table. Later, the rest of the boys came downstairs to enjoy the games the property had to offer. Gu saw that the lights to the bathroom were suddenly off. About 30 minutes later, the rest of the soccer team finally rolled in. Some of the older guys started making dinner and preparing pho for everyone. Others were watching TV shows in the living room. Bud Light was passed out and a toast was made to celebrate their victory. This toast was to be done in one, and the owner wanted the cans back. The rest of the night went without a hitch. The team stayed up well past midnight, partying into the early hours of the morning. They stood shoulder to shoulder singing old Hmong songs on a karaoke machine they brought. Some played beer pong on the kitchen table, making bets like the loser drinks. Others were too far gone to even remember what happened. They were fast asleep on the couch or in the bedroom. Some of the players started making their way to bed. This included Tong and Gu, who shared their room with some of the younger guys. Tong was fast asleep, snoring away. Gu, however, was unable to sleep, still awake from the noise downstairs. He could hear the faint lyrics of Bella Lisa by Paradise as their friends tried their best to not slur their words. Unable to sleep, he grabbed his phone and scrolled through Instagram when suddenly the door to their bedroom slowly creaked open. Gu directed his gaze at the door without moving his head. Another teammate peeked his head out of the covers and looked in that direction. A faint light emitted from outside the hallway, but nothing discernible could be seen. The teammate's head fell back to their pillow and Gu went back to scrolling. The door slowly shut by itself, engulfing the room in darkness once again. Soon after, Gu was able to fall asleep. The next morning, most of the group did not wake up until past noon. Many were still hungover from the night before and hogged the bathroom all morning. They reheated the pho broth as a hangover cure. A pleasing aroma filled the air as everyone lined up with their bowls and chopsticks. People sat in the living room and kitchen enjoying their warm bowl of pho when someone asks,
Who came to open our door last night when y'all were karaokeing?
Someone else responds,
I don't know. Wasn't me. We were all pretty drunk and too busy singing. Well, whoever it was woke me up. I was about to fall asleep and I thought y'all needed something.
Gu looked around, seeing that everyone was busy enjoying their meal. He had many thoughts but chose to keep it to himself.
It was probably one of the guys trying to go to the bathroom.
One of the older men said. The group continued to finish their meal. Dishes soon piled up into the sink. 2 of the guys who knocked out first yesterday night were chosen to wash them as punishment. That day, the group got into their swim trunks and decided to dive into the lake. They started the grill outside and placed marinated meats onto the grates above hot charcoal. Someone brought their cornhole set and others kayaked around the shore. Tong and Gu played against each other on opposite teams. Losers had to wash dishes tonight. The rest of the day flew by quickly. As the sun began to set, people headed inside and rested. It was their final full day at the cabin, and the crew planned some more activities to do together. Tong and another teammate were stuck washing dishes when they heard commotion come from upstairs. One of the players was talking about his missing phone. He said that he left it to charge that morning and it disappeared when he came back. Some of the members said that he probably brought it outside with him or misplaced it. They tried calling the phone and looked around the property but could not find it. Deciding that it might show up later, they put the problem aside and tried to enjoy the rest of their trip. The team repeated activities from yesterday and went outside to light the campfire. They sat in a circle, warming their hands by the flames. To entertain each other, they started telling scary stories, tales that involved haunted homes and experiences with the supernatural were passed around. Others recounted the scary rumors that surrounded Lake Phelan in Minnesota. The crackling fire, accompanied by crickets and croaking frogs, soon filled the air as the group got quiet. It was then that one of the team members shared their strange encounter.
You know, when we got to the cabin and I really needed to pee,
He said.
As I was using the bathroom, I saw the shower curtain swing in the mirror. I thought it was strange and I pulled it aside, but there was nothing behind it. Yeah, I experienced that too. I was taking a huge dump when that happened yesterday night.
Someone chimed in.
Did you guys get sat on yesterday? I woke up and could not move.
Another player said.
That didn't happen to me, but I saw a shadow moving in the basement. I thought it was one of you, but it was far too small.
Another member replied. The campfire erupted into chatter as the players recalled their experiences. That night, they discussed the strange occurrences at the cabin. Many of the players agreed that the cabin felt odd for a place that looked so nice. They tied these strange events with the missing phone, wondering where it could have ended up. Eventually, they chalked it up to natural occurrences to not scare each other any further. It was approaching 11 p.m. when the group decided to end the night. They were to clean up and check out the following morning. The next day, the soccer team packed all of their belongings and made sure that the place was clean. Beer cans were tossed into trash bags and boxes were broken down. Everyone was about to leave when the player with the missing phone walked down the stairs. In his right hand was his lost device that he had found on top of the dresser. He swore up and down that he checked everywhere in the room. Others agreed as they helped him search yesterday. They were confused as to why it was discovered in a place that they already checked. On the phone displayed multiple notifications of their missed calls and messages. Besides that, the player was happy to finally receive his phone back. Afterwards, they took a group photo in front of the house and headed back home. The AC was turned on to max as they rode the car back to central Wisconsin. It was about a 3-hour trip until Tong and Gu arrived at Gu's house. The pair headed inside and rested on the couch. Tong texted his older brother to come pick him up.
Did you experience anything weird during the cabin trip?
Tong asked. The friend waited for a moment before replying, unsure of what to say to Tong.
To be honest, the place was pretty haunted and had multiple ghosts living in it.
He replied to Tong.
What? How do you know?
He asked.
Well, I noticed it right away when we arrived. There was a lady standing at the second floor window when we pulled up into the driveway. She was looking at us unpack our stuff out of the car. That's when I asked you to grab my bag.
Gu responded, scrolling past YouTube videos on the TV.
Then, when we entered the cabin and went to pick our rooms, you led us straight to the bedroom where I saw a lady. You walked right past her. She kept staring at me, but I pretended like I didn't notice her. That room was haunted, so I suggested we sleep in a different room.
Gu stated, settling on a video to play.
Wait, you can see ghosts?
Tong asked, wondering why he only knew this now. Gu delayed his response.
Well, I've never told you this, but I've always been able to see them as a kid, ever since I got sick as a child and became a shaman.
Tong was shocked at this revelation. He never expected his best friend to be a shaman. It was then that Gu explained how everything came to be. He started his journey at around the age of 6. He contracted an unknown illness that would not go away. According to the doctors, there was nothing wrong with him, but he continued to be unwell. Unsure of what to do, his parents called over a shaman to see what was wrong. The shaman took one look at Gu and revealed that he was blessed to be a shaman. In the future, Gu would be tasked to help heal the weak and fight against evil. After this, Gu found a shaman master and studied as an apprentice. He remained as an apprentice for many years to not impede his studies and was to begin practicing when he finished college.
The whole house had a bad vibe to it.
Gu said as he leaned back onto the sofa.
While you were asleep on the first night, the door to our bedroom opened up by itself. Of course, you were KO'd by then, so you didn't hear it,
he explained. Gu then started to describe all the wrong things that were in the house. He told Tong about the ghost girl who haunted the basement. Then he revealed the more dangerous entity living in the cabin. It was the ghost of a man who took his own life in the bathroom. Gu explained that the only reason why they weren't experiencing more dangerous activities was because there were a lot of them in that house. However, if they had stayed any longer, the activity would have spiked up, possibly leading to more dangerous experiences. Fortunately, the group did not stay for too long for the spirits to get attached, so everyone made it home safely. He made sure that no one was followed home when they left earlier. Tong looked at his phone and saw that his brother was calling him. He picked up the phone and was told to come outside. The brother was parked on the street. Gu showed his friend out the door and the two said goodbye. Tong rode in the passenger seat, still thinking about what occurred that weekend. Over the course of a week, Tong and Amy started to see a spike in activity. It started with doors closing on their own to hearing strange whispers outside their room in the middle of the night. Then, one evening, while Tong and Amy were watching TV in the living room, they saw what appeared to be a shadow dart across the hallway into the bathroom. Tong got up to check it out and entered the bathroom. What he experienced was something that still haunts him to this day. Tong explained how he turned on the lights to see the shadow of a person hidden behind the shower curtain. He balled his hand into a fist and pushed the curtains aside, only to reveal nothing. Instead, one of the shampoo bottles fell down, scaring Tong in the process. Perplexed at the situation, Tong placed the bottle back where it was and exited the bathroom. As he stepped out, he heard the bottle fall down again. He turned around and flicked the light on. Only this time, he was greeted again by the shadow behind the curtain. Tong slowly approached the shower and pulled it aside, and like last time, it was empty with only the bottle on the floor. He placed the bottle in a secure spot and closed the curtains again. This time, he kept an eye on the shower. Tong described how when he took a step back, he saw the same shadow hidden behind the curtain. Afraid, Tong was unsure of what to do.
Is everything alright there? What's taking you so long?
Amy shouted from the living room.
You should come check this out,
Tong replied. Amy got up from her seat and made her way down the hallway. She gasped at the frightening sight. The pair stood frozen when they were suddenly jolted by the sound of the shampoo bottle falling to the floor. Tong immediately pulled Amy away from the bathroom and the pair shut the door. They then started packing their clothes and contacted Amy's parents. The couple told them of their situation and were allowed to stay at the parents' house for the time being. They left out the front door and got into the car when Tong received a phone call notification on the car's built-in display. It was his friend Gu, and he answered the call, backing out of the parking lot.
Hello?
Tong answered.
Something just happened to you guys, correct?
Gu asked. Puzzled at how his friend knew, Tong replied.
Yes, how did you know? I looked into your problem and it doesn't seem like it'll be a simple fix. The entity is only growing stronger by the day.
Gu said.
Yeah, earlier it was messing with us. We decided to leave and stay at Amy's place for the time being.
Tong responded.
That's good. I was going to suggest that, but I'm glad you're already doing it. I'll come over this weekend to exorcise the spirit. A simple cleansing and ritual won't cut it,
replied the young shaman.
What do you mean? You're not going to be like those Taoist priests from the movies we used to watch as kids, are you?
Tong asked, adjusting the volume to his car.
The Mr. Vampire movies? No. Not that level, but I'm just doing what my master taught me.
Gu stated.
Anyways, let's work out the details later when you guys have the time. Drive safe.
With this, the call ended and the couple merged onto the highway. They were unsure of what to do, but glad that Gu was willing to help. When Saturday morning rolled around, Gu readied his shaman tools and packed them into a cloth bag. Carrying it over his shoulder, he got into his car and backed out onto the busy street. The road from the Twin Cities to Menominee was packed with vehicles on I-94 East. It was finally around noon when Gu arrived at the apartment. He saw the couple parked at the entrance of the apartment and pulled up next to them. They got out of their cars and greeted each other, making their way inside.
Sorry we had to meet like this after such a long time,
Tong said to his friend.
It's okay. I know you need my help. You'll just have to treat me out one of these days.
Gu joked. The group entered the elevator and pressed the button. It was there that Gu inquired more about the activities that occurred over the course of the week. The couple explained to him about the usual activities, but they were unsure of what happened after they left.
Are you sure the thing didn't follow you guys?
Gu asked.
I'm pretty sure that it didn't follow us. We didn't experience anything at Amy's place,
Tong said as he glanced at Amy.
Yeah, there wasn't anything. I'm just glad that we had some peace for the time being,
she answered. The elevator door opened and the group made their way to the apartment. As they got closer, Gu could feel the negative energy emanating from their place. Something was telling him that this would not be an easy task. Tong pulled out his pair of keys and unlocked the door, twisting the handle. Upon opening the entrance, they were shocked to find what was inside. The kitchen drawers and cabinets were all open and the furniture had been moved. The place looked like it had been ransacked.
It wasn't like this when we left. The only place should have been our bedroom when we rushed to pack our clothes,
Tong exclaimed. Something's
not right. I think you guys should go outside while I deal with whatever's in here,
Gu said as he reached inside of his bag. The young shaman started to chant a spell. From his bag, he grabbed a handful of what looked to be kernels of red corn.
The door's locked. It won't open,
Amy said, trying the door handle.
Here, let me try.
Tong reached out, struggling to get the door open.
It's trapped us inside here. The only way out is if I defeat it,
Gu explained, slowly making his way throughout the apartment.
Stay close. You should be safe around me,
he said, gesturing to the couple.
It seems to be acting up from my presence. It knows I'm here to exorcise it.
The young shaman finished chanting his spell and blew his breath upon the kernels. They seemed to glow a faint red color as he stepped foot into the hallway. Gu could sense something evil at the end of the hallway. He could hear strange, almost inaudible whispers from their bedroom. Readying himself, he opened the door and described what he saw as a pitch-black shadow entity. The light from the window only seemed to be absorbed by the being, not allowing any light to pass through. In a split-second reaction, Gu chucked the kernels at the spirit. This impact caused the spirit to recoil in pain as it let out a distorted cry. Its reaction caused the object to be sent flying towards the young shaman, who barely dodged them. Gu then began a new chant while reaching inside of his bag. He pulled out a copper blade about 1.5 feet in length and blessed its edge. Flames surrounded the blade, causing the spirit to draw back in fear. It covered itself from the heat and light that the blade emitted. The young shaman continued his chanting and, with no movements wasted, swiftly cut the entity down. From its wound, flames erupted and fire spewed as the spirit burnt away. The distorted cries got quieter and were replaced with the crackling of the fire. Gu stumped the flames out and wiped away the ashes. What
the hell was that?
Tom questioned, stunned at what he saw.
That was the entity haunting you. Your apartment should be safe now.
Gu stated, placing his blade into the bag.
I know, but what was the stuff that you did and why was it in our home?
Tong questioned.
From what I understand, the entity was possibly summoned by the previous tenants. They probably played with the Ouija board or dabbled in the occult. And the stuff that I did, that's perks of being a shaman. I had my spirit guides help me.
Gu answered, picking up kernels off the ground. The trio discussed what happened all day that afternoon. Gu said their apartment should not be having any more issues so long as they don't dabble with black magic. He stated that if they are still worried, they could hang red corn outside of their apartment door, as that is supposed to protect their home. The young shaman explained that red corn was to demons and spirits like bullets are to people and living things. Spirits and demons tend to stay away from red corn, as they know how much it can hurt them. Unsure if that would cause any issues with the apartment policies, the couple were hesitant about the idea but agreed anyway. Tong and Amy offered for Gu to stay and have dinner with them, but he declined. The young shaman stated that he had some business to take care of and had to go back to the Twin Cities. Tong walked his friend out the door and into the parking lot. The two talked of plans to meet up in the near future. We all sat at the table in shock and awe. We were so entranced by his story that we all forgot about the case of Michelob that we were supposed to finish. It sounded like something straight out of a movie or television show, and we asked him if it was true. He stated that it was real and that it happened recently. It was why he was able to remember everything so vividly. My cousin has always been one to not lie. He is terrible at keeping secrets and would fail a lie detector test 11 out of 10 times. Processing it all in, we raised our cans and made a toast. Knowing that we could not finish our case of beer, we decided to leave it to drink the next day. All of us got ready for bed, and I found a spot on the sofa for myself. Still thinking about the story, I drifted away into deep slumber.